Months after the music faded, a popular question was, were you at Woodstock? And in the parlance of the time, the really hip answer was, yes, and my picture's in Life magazine. Acceptable was, no, but I saw the movie. Well, it's now 20 years to the month since the 60s' biggest happening, and Life magazine went back and found some of the people it had photographed 2 decades ago. And Warner Brothers is re-releasing the movie that fostered the legend. Now, we've put the two together, and Lynn Shure has gone to find those now grown children of Aquarius.
One of the best parties I ever went to.
The music was great.
There was a lot of kindness and a lot of helping people. It was once in a lifetime experience.
There'll never be anything again like Woodstock. It was just a unique experience.
The concert that became a symbol of the 1960s took place here on a 600-acre dairy farm in Bethel, New York. It was called Woodstock, after a town 50 miles away, a town where the festival was originally meant to be held. But that was not the only plan that went awry. It was billed as 3 days of peace and music, and the promoters expected to make a profit on 100,000 fans paying $18 a ticket. Instead, they lost money when nearly 500,000 showed up for free. Traffic turned the highway into a parking lot. Water and sanitary facilities broke down. Still, somehow, it worked. August 1969. A week before the festival began, people started showing up. Some to help out, some just to be there. They were drawn from as far away as California and Alaska, united by their love for music and peace, and what was called 20 years ago an alternate lifestyle. Above all, they were coming to have a good time. And when it was over, Life magazine commemorated the event with a special Woodstock issue. Maxine Stone was only 19 when she was photographed by Life. Ira Stone, then her boyfriend, was part of the Burt Summer Band, and the two of them had been ferried to the concert by helicopter.
And as we flew over the hillside, there was something on the horizon which I could not identify. It was a wave of undulating color. And I said to the helicopter pilot, "What is that?" And he said, "That, my dear, is about 500,000 people." And we all were silent for a moment, and I said, "I think I'd like to go home now." It was an amazing sight.
To the Birmingham War. Hey, marching to the Birmingham War.
The musicians were the spokespeople of the 60s. What they played and sang was nothing less than the message America's young people were trying to send. It was the sound of rebellion against bias and big cities in favor of communal living closer to nature. Tom Law and his 2-year-old daughter, Pilar, came to Woodstock from the mountains of New Mexico.
I think that to understand anything about it, you have to understand that we were in the middle of the worst part of the Vietnam War, and we were wrong. And we knew it, we, the people at Woodstock. And the rest of the nation was pretty much trying to not admit it, that their kids knew it.
And it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. The next stop is Vietnam.
The anthems to peace that so captivated a generation were in stark contrast to the violence of the decade. A president, a senator, and a civil rights leader had all been murdered. Cities and college campuses had been the center of riots and bloody battles. But for 3 days in upstate New York, there was no violence. Those who were there say it's because the 500,000 kids policed themselves. There were real cops, But in the spirit of the party, many wore T-shirts and carried no weapons. And before the concert began, they agreed that trying to arrest all those smoking marijuana, the vast majority, would be futile. In retrospect, all the dope reflected a more innocent attitude towards drugs. Acid, or LSD, was treated more seriously. A staff of medics and volunteers was on hand to care for drug overdoses. Christy Palmer, a 21-year-old from Washington, D.C., remembers volunteering herself.
I remember being near a person who was having a bad trip, it seemed. He was freaking out, and I took him personally to the first aid center and made sure that he was going to be taken care of before I left him, because he was out of control. He was having trouble.
But for all the sense of community, all the built-in controls, there were some things at Woodstock that nobody could control.
All right, everybody just sit down, wrap yourself up. We're going to have to ride it out. Hold on to your neighbor, man.
It was a major storm, and it hit very fast, and everything had to be shut down, and people had to be cleared away from the towers, and, you know, there was real physical danger there.
Please move back. We have to get away from these towers. Hey, if you think really hard, maybe we can stop this rain.
For the committed members of the counterculture, who would mark the rest of their lives by the weekend at Woodstock, the rain and the mud were simply another aspect of this immense happening.
There were people walking around nude, and it wasn't really attracting any more attention than the clothed people were. They were just doing their own thing. A lot of people were doing that. That is part of what was beautiful about Woodstock, is that a lot of people were doing their own thing, but it wasn't infringing on anyone else.
It was that spirit of acceptance and community that enabled so many to survive and celebrate that incredible weekend.
Now the truth is found, when it's all found, nothing lies and no joy. The joy within you dies. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love?
There was a lot of love expressed. Who else, Lynn, would have put up with those conditions? The rain, the mud, no bathrooms, no food, no water. I kind of call it a euphoria in a refugee camp.